Hi guys, and finally welcome to my review of the Kinera Imperial Loki. I know I did the unboxing quite a few weeks ago, and I've taken my time on purpose so that whatever I do say about the Loki is basically following the lines or not of what I initially gave in my first impressions and written review, if you want to put it that way. And I'm happy to say that not only does it confirm everything that I had heard and written about initially, but it actually far surpasses some of those aspects that I mentioned. Fair enough, there are still one or two areas where I do believe the Loki could be slightly better, and especially because of the price that we're talking about. I mean, $3,000 is not exactly pocket money, but the truth is, the Loki is a very, very good IEM, and an IEM that has every right to be up there with some of the most well-known brands, and it shouldn't fear being compared to some of those IEMs. I feel that sometimes a lot of the people which are lucky enough to have those top of the line IEMs for reasons which I cannot understand, maybe have a hard time admitting to how good a lesser brand can make an IEM. I mean, we have the case, for example, of an IEM which has now become, my apologies, as I was saying, we have the case of several IEMs, but one that jumps to mind immediately is the IEM from Kanpur, the CP622B, which I haven't heard. So what I will say is based on the overall feeling that I get about that IEM, and what I mean by that, I mean that it's a brand that, probably many of us would not even give it a second chance because they have IEMs up to now which have not exactly stood out. And the initial impressions as well about the CP622B from some of the few people that I've heard have been somewhat mixed in that, yes, it has all the makings of a high-end IEM, but nobody was actually expecting it to be as good as it is. And the truth is, it's trading blows and surpassing the performance of very, let's say, big names in terms of the IEM world. And what I say about, or what I am saying about the CP622B is exactly the same thing that I personally feel happens here with the Kinera Loki. Kinera, as we know, has a very particular house sound, a sound that you either like or don't like. It tries not to follow the trends. It tries to make things in its own way. I mean, the Kinera Hodur, the Oud, both are IEMs which many will probably say, oh, too dark, doesn't, but you actually take time, choose the tips, choose if you want the cable, although that's always a very subjective matter. Choose your source and then start listening to them after, let your brain burn, let them run in, whatever you want to call it. And you will start understanding the magic that they have, especially when you are able to compare them with several other IEMs. And that, I think, is the biggest issue sometimes when we as reviewers or as individuals, when we are trying to position something or make an idea about something, is that we are limited in the amount of IEMs that we have, and I'm also a victim of that, especially when we're talking about IEMs above $1,000. I am somewhat limited. If it was not for some of my friends have lent me some IEMs of over that price bracket, a lot of the things I would not be able to even talk about. And hopefully, I hope that I will continue to have those friends sending me some of these high-end IEMs. And the Loki is exactly that. The Loki is an IEM that, on first impressions, you can be impressed or not, as I think it's the case with many IEMs. But once you let it burn in, once you let your brain get used to it, once you let it actually, play for a while, once you've selected the right source for it, once you've selected the right tip that works for you, I mean, I'm using some Spinfit 145, something which I don't usually use. And you know what? It works very well with the Loki and with my ears. In this case, which is, I mean, this is not a tip that I usually go to. It just works very well. It works generally very well. I mean, you know, those that follow me know that I like these tips from PENON, or I like the KB ears, and I mean, I've got them here on 3 of these other IEMs that you can see, because they work very well in my ears. Okay, and the spin fits here on the Loki, with you know, a source like the Q15, or even with my Frankenstein, you know, the Cayenne RU7 with the NX7. These were the 2 sources that I used. You will be very impressed. I am sure that even the most hardcore, most oh no, Akros, there you go again, exaggerating and this and that, you will be impressed. Okay, you will be impressed. With this review, I will give you my usual playlist, but I will call your attention to the playlist called Akros Ultima. I will call your attention to 10 songs at the end of that playlist, which I've purposely put on the end of that playlist. Listen to those songs. Okay, they are my music that I like to hear. There isn't one song there which is rock. That's true, but it's got a nice variety of music there, where you'll be able to pick up on things like, you know, guitar plugs and stuff like that, and voices, female voices. You'll be able to see good bass texture. You'll be able to get an overall good feeling if an IM is capable or not. And I invite you to listen to those songs with any IM that you have, and start just seeing how one does it and how another does it. And that's exactly what I did with the Loki. I was waiting on something, you know, really more high end to have arrived, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get it. So I took out the Volt, which is one of my favorite IMs. Out of all the IMs that I own, this is one of my favorite IMs. It just does what it does very, very well. Okay, obviously we're talking about a humongous price difference. We're talking $700 and something here versus $3,000. And I also took out the Tansio Mirai Halo, because it also has impressed me enough for me to say that it's one of my favorite IMs of all the IMs that I've heard up to date. Definitely. You know, considering it's an all BA, well, it's basically all BA and EST, but considering it doesn't have any DD doing the bass, the way that it's been tuned, and if you guys saw my recent review about it, it is just really very nice to listen to. Yes, fair enough, there are other very good OBA sets out there that and some of them are, or well, the majority of the more affordable ones, I have them. You know, Duno SA6 MK2, love it. The Butas 2 from Night Oblivion, I think it's an amazing IM as well. You know, there are very, very good other BA propositions, let's put it that way. The Neon Pro, for those that are fans of our audio. But this thing just has something very special about it, and I thought that these 2 IMs, there's the Quattro here, but I'll explain why I've got the Quattro here in a second. I thought these 2 IMs were enough for me to be able to convey to you guys how really very special the Loki is. Okay, and it's not so much to say, oh, okay, this is the best and those 2 are not. No, none of that, because there are things that the Volt does better than the Loki, and there are things that the Halo does do better than the Loki as well. They are. But it was for you guys to really maybe understand how good the Loki is. Okay. Again, I repeat, I would have liked to have had, I would have liked to have had some Fat Freak stuff with me. I would have liked to have had some Aroma Audio stuff with me to better compare and better position it. And I'm sure those that are lucky enough to have those IMs, if they actually get the Loki and they compare it, I am positive that they will see some true magic on the Loki. If you approach that comparison with an unbiased manner, with a manner that, yes, you might have your preferences, I'm fine with that. But if you approach it with an unbiased manner, with an open mind with regards to, oh, okay, it's Kinera, blah blah blah. No, approach it with a serious, fair, perception of wanting to give a good assessment of the Loki. You will be impressed. Anyway, As we mentioned before, or as I mentioned before in my unboxing, the Loki is a quadbrid. It's got a 6mm silicone dynamic driver, 6 knolls, balanced armatures, 4 on the mids and 2 on the highs, or the treble if you want to call it that way, then backed up by another 4 Sonian electrostatics, and then a custom built bone conduction driver to help out on the low frequency. It is extremely well accessorized. Just in accessories alone, you've got more than $1,000 worth of stuff there. But the thing that that I think is the most important is how all of those drivers have been put together. Yes, there are minor flaws, especially when you consider the price. There are people that mention that the mids are slightly recessed and this, and I can understand depending on what you're listening to, and especially depending on how the IEM will fit you, because this is not a small IEM. Okay, and if it is a big IEM, it does occupy some ear space, and if you're not able to get it to fit properly, you will not be able to, I think, feel its overall magic. I mean, just for you guys to understand how big it is, let me just take out the Halo, 8 BAs and 4 ESTs, and I'm comparing it here to the Loki, and you guys can see the size difference is significant. Okay, it is significant. On the sounds then, bass on the Loki was the first thing that really impressed me from the first listen, and it impresses me more and more every time I listen to it. Let's take a song, for example, like Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone from Bobby Blue Bland. The beginning of that song, it's got a nice bass line going to it. The weight, the right amount of weight, the texture, the ability to give you a bass which makes you feel like it is there. You are there listening to those drums. It is just, it's faultless. I cannot fault it. The Volt does it very well. The Volt does it, but when you compare it with the Loki, you feel that the presentation here on the Volt is a more neutral presentation. Perhaps more to the liking of some of you, but it's a more neutral presentation. It's a more, not more correct, not more, it's just a more neutral presentation, okay? In tune with the rest of the presentation of the whole Volt, mind you. When you listen to it on the Halo, you are impressed by how clean that bass is, and yes, you will be impressed by how physical it can actually also be, considering its BAs, but you don't get that I can't even find the right word. You don't get those, let's call it cubic inches, that you get from the Loki. And when you consider it's a 6mm driver, I ask myself, what sort of magic have they done to the 6mm driver? The only thing I was able to ascertain from them was that it's a 6mm driver, but it's a very high excursion 6mm driver. And because it's a high excursion driver, it is able to move more air, and therefore then give this kind of rumbly, visceral impact, or that it can. So, in terms of its the sub bass, it's flawless, faultless, absolutely faultless. There could be a little bit more slam, a little bit more impact here and there, but honestly, that's me really nitpicking. Okay. Now, in terms of the mids, as I mentioned before, in my written review, and I confirm that, crystal clean. I didn't find mids to be recessed. I didn't find the mids to be in any way lacking male or female vocals. Timbre and tonality is exceptional, okay. Instrument sounds perfect. Female vocals perhaps just slightly edging out male vocals in overall presentation, and I feel that's where maybe some people found that the male vocals were a little bit recessed. And in that area, in the mids, I would say that yes, the Halo does edge out ever so slightly the Loki here and there. Doesn't beat it, but it does edge it out. It just has these mids which are just ever so slightly cleaner in more songs than the Loki is, okay? on the ones that it loses out because it doesn't have the bass that the Loki has to give it the correct or the final touch to just make them exceptional. Okay, the mids on the Volt are again neutral. They're non-offensive. They don't get you. You know, they are very nice. I mean, like I was saying earlier, you listen to the Volt by itself, and you have to be impressed. I don't know about other people's Volts, or because this is always the eternal thing. We never can be absolutely sure that the IM that I have is exactly going to be the same as the IM that somebody else has. I am basing what I'm saying on what I have in front of me, and what I have in front of me, I can tell you that my Volt has got an amazing sound. It just is so correct everywhere, but it doesn't have just that little extra more magic that the mids of the Loki has. The Loki has got those extra little bits of gold dust there to just make the mids exceptional. And then finally in the highs, treble. The treble of the Loki is again very well done. It's a mature, it's clean, it's got loads of extension, very good separation. Maybe for some of us or some of you rather, that are maybe younger and have a better listening ability in the high frequencies. I mean, I can listen very well up to about 15k, but at 16k, that's game over for me. Let's put it that way. So 15k, up to 15k, I can hear perfectly. And considering that most music doesn't even go above that, okay, the highs that I get on the Loki are perfect for me. They have just that little extra amount of energy that I don't have in the Volt, although the Volt is, again, like I said before, very balanced out. Bass, mids, and treble are perfectly balanced out. There's no area there sticking out, so it's just a very well executed neutral IEM. Okay, very, very well. And on the Halo, the highs can be on the level and better, slightly better than the highs of the Loki, depending on the source. If I am using the Cayenne RU7, the Loki is better. If I am using the Q15, because of its warmer kind of way of doing things, the Halo then gives the Loki a hard time. It does, it really does. I even found that on more than one occasion, I was kind of, am I listening to the Loki or the Halo? Oh, it's the Halo. Wow. That kind of situation happened. The Halo is very, very good in terms of the mids and highs. Absolutely fantastic. And then the bass, it's BA bass. So either you like it or you don't like it. It's as simple as that. Okay. And then technically, again, there's very little that I can falter in the Loki in its technical capabilities. I mean, it's got everything very well matched. All the coherency between the drivers is very well achieved, and that coherency then translates itself to exceptional, in my opinion, exceptional detail retrieval, exceptional resolution, imaging. The only thing that I would have liked a little bit more is just a slightly bigger soundstage that, for example, the Halo has. The Halo has got a better soundstage than the Loki. It does. Is it huge? No, but it does. Okay. Technically, yes, of the three, this one is the one that's the least capable. That's the truth. Mainly because the treble is not as energetic as those other two. Okay. But look, and as I mentioned when I did the earlier review or first impressions of the Loki, this is a very good IM that surprised me from first listen. It continues to surprise me after over a month of listening to it. Not every day, but occasionally I listen to it. So it's got a good couple of hours. It's got a good, I would say, 90 hours of listening already on it. Very easily 90 hours of listening to it. And I feel that although I am not 100% a believer of burn-in, I think that burn-in is more often than none a question of brain adaptation. The reality is, the longer this plays, the longer my brain gets used to it, the better it sounds, And like I said, those particular songs that I call your attention to, you listen to Blackbird from Lady Blackbird. No, listen to it. Listen to that song in your IMs. Okay, take those IMs that you have, which are perhaps your references, and then make a plan, make a point. If you live in special, particular parts of the world that allow for that, especially if you're living in somewhere like Singapore or Japan, go and listen to that song on the Loki. I am positive, absolutely positive, that you will be impressed. You have to be impressed. You have to. It's just impossible. I do not believe that there will be someone that says, oh no, it does it horribly. No. That there might be, oh, I prefer it slightly more here, but wow, yes, that's fine. But you will be impressed, okay? Let me see another one. Change the World from Eric Clapton. Again, another song that will definitely impress you. Girl in the Red Dress from Greg Karukas. Again, fantastic. Save This Dance For Me from Joyce Calling. These are all songs that, seriously, I know I'm repeating myself. Listen to these songs that I'm mentioning with your IMs, and then definitely make a plan to go and listen to those songs, or to have those songs with you to listen for when you have the opportunity to audition the Loki. You will be impressed. Okay. Anyway, guys, this is my take on the Loki. Obviously, this is not an IM for everybody. You guys also know what I have, what my feelings are with regards to going above the $1,000 price bracket. So I'm not going to delve too much into that. I think, if you have the money, if you can afford it, then I guess price is irrelevant for those of us that are lucky. But, this is, in my opinion, a true top-of-the-line product. Definitely a top-of-the-line product. If it's worth that money or not, I leave it to you guys to decide. Compared to other top-of-the-line products, I think it's more than capable of trading blows. It's not a Jewel or Fat Freak Maestro. It's not. Those IMs will not destroy and completely annihilate the Loki. No, they won't. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Those IMs I firmly believe that those IMs will not blow the Loki out of the water, because this is a well-built, well-designed, well-engineered, very well-sounding IM. It's as simple as that. This was done with some serious thought behind it. It wasn't a putting together of parts and let's throw these things together and see what comes out of this. All right. Anyway, guys, I'll just quickly show you the graph so you can have an idea of the graph of the Loki, and I'll just briefly compare it to the PENON and the Tansio as well. Oh, one last thing before I forget. The reason why I've got here the Quattro, and again, this is something which is very relative, because it depends whether or not you've been able to listen to the Quattro and whether or not you like the bass of the Quattro. I think the bass of the Quattro is absolutely exceptional. For you to have an idea of how good the bass of the Loki is, the Quattro uses two 10mm drivers in a clamshell configuration, so they're both facing each other, and then they exit through the center via a tube to the outside. It has got some seriously very well tuned. I mean, the bass on this is exceptional, and it's been so well done. Okay, that when you are going from something like these three and you transfer yourself over there, then you see how well done it is. You don't think, oh no, it's too much and it's overpowering the mids and blah blah blah. No, it isn't. It is very, very good. Okay, the bass on here, in terms of quality of the bass, it surpasses the bass of the Quattro. And in terms of quantity, yes, there's more quantity here, definitely. 2 10mm shows how better be more quantity. But up to, I would say, a good 60-65% volume, you will be very, very hard pressed to actually be able to distinguish between the two of them. Very hard pressed, because this has got some seriously good bass. For a 6mm driver, seriously good. All right. Anyway, guys, show you now the graphs. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the Kinera Imperial Loki. Let me just quickly take out the other two graphs so that you guys can see the Loki a little bit better. So this is the graph of the Loki that I have. So as you can see, huge amounts of sub-bass focus. I mean, it's flat by 200 hertz basically. I mean, I don't feel any bleed into the mids or anything of the sort. Don't forget as well, this is a 6mm driver, so although it might graphically seem like it's overpowering, no, it's not overpowering. It's perfectly balanced with the rest. And then, although it's got this slightly early pin again, it's making things forward again. I didn't find it to be forward. I found it to be in the right balance considering the rest of the frequency, both under and above the mids. Okay, so bass and treble. And then I think it speaks for itself. I didn't feel any of these peaks as a problem. I mean, this year could have been slightly more to the 8K, but it's fine. Loads of extension past 10K. Loads of extension. But it's very well done. It's very smooth. I didn't find it overpowering or aggressive or harsh or anything of the sort. Okay. And then compared to the two IEMs that I selected, the PENON is, I mean, it doesn't get more neutral than this. Okay. I think it speaks for itself, the graph of the PENON. The bass, the mids, everything is just very, so in terms of its, let's say, fun factor, yes, the Loki is definitely more fun. But in terms of how neutral, but still very musical, because, you know, there are neutral IEMs, but then they lose their musicality. At least I've found that the PENON is faultless. You know, and if you listen to the PENON by itself on those particular songs that I've mentioned, it sounds absolutely fantastic, fabulous. There's no lack of bass or mids or highs or nothing. But you know, when you start comparing it with something like the Loki or the Halo, yes, you do feel that, okay, here it lacks a little bit. This one actually does it slightly better. This one actually does it a little bit differently. But it's got fantastic tonality, fantastic timbre. It just sounds really very good, and it's not one of my favorite IEMs for the sake of just being one of my favorite IEMs. Okay, and then finally the Halo. Don't forget again, BA bass, so it's not as overpowering or as strong as the graph might seem. And then the mids on the Halo for me are on occasion, or just not on occasion. There are more times than none, slightly edging out the mids of the Loki, and the times they don't do it, the times that they're not surpass ever so slightly. Please keep this in mind. We're talking minimal differences here, guys. We're talking really, really small differences. We're not talking day and night differences. And maybe some of you guys will hear it and you won't even think the same way as I do. If the Halo doesn't surpass more often the Loki, because it just doesn't have that bass weight from behind. And it's absolutely unbelievable how that 6mm driver behaves. Seriously, it's just fantastic. And then the extension of the Halo as well, faultless. I mean, faultless. Truly magical. Very nice sensation of space, of soundstage. Very good. Okay. Anyway, with regards to the three of them, that's it. Now I'll just quickly show you the Quattro so that you guys can kind of understand what I was saying. And again, keep in mind, the graph of the Quattro, when you look at it, it seems like, oh my god, this is just too much and blah blah. When you're actually listening to it, and like I mentioned, when you're going back and forth and comparing it with IEMs of this caliber, like I did, it doesn't sound like it's a mess. It doesn't sound like, no, it's going to be completely overpowering, and no, none of that. In terms of how they sound compared to each other, I'm going to say that if I actually normalize it at 1K, which, you know, that wouldn't be entirely correct, because you notice that the Loki does have more energy, and it's not this sort of difference in the bass. If I normalize it at 500 hertz, again, not entirely correct, because it's not this sort of difference here. I would say that, to be fair, and maybe it's not a frequency that usually you will find it being used as a frequency for normalizing or comparing graphs. I would say it's 700 hertz. It's kind of more or less what the balance I think is more correct. Yes, there is a little bit more, not this difference, there is a little bit more mid-bass on the Quattro in terms of slam, but that low bass, okay, the Loki is just phenomenal. And you know, when you consider it's a 6mm, and the quality of that bass and the presence and the everything that it has is being compared to 210s, it's impressive. It's really impressive. Okay. Anyway, guys, I hope I was able to shed some light here on the Loki a little bit more. At least, plant the seed to make you guys go and listen to it. I'm not going to say, no, go buy it. No, go listen to it. Seriously. Especially, I wish I lived in places like Singapore or Hong Kong or even Japan. I really do, because you guys have got no idea how lucky you are if you live in those places. No idea whatsoever. Every single IM that I ever tested, I either had to spend money buying it, or if on occasion now I've been lucky enough to have some of them sent to me for free, or then I had to have them, somebody had to lend them to me. Okay, and even the IMs that were sent to me for free, we're not talking this sort of level of IMs. We're talking like cheaper stuff. Okay, so the majority of the IMs that I have, I've had to buy them. That's it. For me to be able to bring any sort of content to you guys, I've had to spend money to listen to them. And you guys are lucky enough not only to live in places where the community is much stronger, where you can actually, trade between each other and so on and so forth. I know that the Canuck audio community, for example, in Canada is very strong, and they share IMs between each other, and as well in the States between certain members of some Discord channels, they share, IMs, and I don't have any of that. Trust me, I don't have any of that. So, if you are lucky to live in one of those places, or you are lucky to be part of a group or something that doesn't mind sharing IMs, get your hands on the Loki and listen to it. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Anyway, guys, have a nice one. Take care. Bye bye.